It's been 24 hours since her release on the NA server. She sucks. Disclaimer, content on this channel revolve around fear crafting and meta crafting. You can roll for any character that you find pleasing. You can play any character you want. If you're a casual player, the content here are most likely out of your reach. AKA, I don't sugarcoat character. If you're just looking for content that's called your desired character, OMG so broken, feel free to watch basically anyone else on the YouTube channel. With that being said, if you would like to continue, you can keep watching and consider subscribing. Let's get started. The number one thing to talk about is what works and what is good. I think too often people are confused about what is actually good and what actually works. For example, right here, this team, does it work? Yes. Does it work well? Okay. Is it good? It depends. The problem here is that, yeah, this team does work because Xingqiu's and Xiangling are a character that heavily focus on their elemental burst and require energy. On top of that, both of these are deployable so that Raiden can easily take the on-field time to do her thing. In theory, it worked really well. In practice, it worked really well. Does it make it good, however, even though it worked really well? Unfortunately, it does not, and you might be very confused on why that is the case. The answer is simply because there are better options, aka just by replacing this Raiden Shogun with Sucrose will net you better option. Or you can just replace Sucrose with even Kazuya, which is the better option compared to Sucrose, assuming that you can properly play the Kazuya combo. You might be confused on why. You'll be, how can you even compare this? Because, well, don't you need energy? And yes, the thing is, by building more energy recharge on Xiangling, it's true that you sacrifice some damage on your Xiangling characters. For example, right now I have 187 energy recharge, and I'm using a Phonius lens and the 4-set Umbok set. So it is true that I need to build energy recharge and therefore lost some damage on my Xiangling. But I gained those damage back by putting in a character that will get me more damage, in this case Kazuya, than a character that will not give me more damage, which is Raiden. And to get started, this is my current Raiden and it's most likely the Raiden you see throughout this video, although I'll switch around a little bit. So I have 70% crit rate and 123% crit damage. The ratio here is not too close to 1 to 2, but it does have pretty good crit value. I have 200% energy recharge, which is actually on the lower end, and that is because I'm running a attack percent sense, although it does have energy recharge substat on it. The weapon I'm using here is going to be the Skyward Spine. This is going to be a refined 1 Skyward Spine. The reason why I'm using this over other weapon is because this weapon reassembled the free-to-play weapon that we're going to be getting, the cache, very closely. You might see other people use Skyward Spine, which I heavily consider as well. The problem with Skyward Spine is that the refinement on Skyward Spine is very biased, and therefore because I have R5 Skyward Spine, it's very hard to test it with it. For reference, a R1 Skyward Spine will have a 12-second cooldown on the energy generation, while the R5 Skyward Spine will have a 6-second cooldown on the energy generation. And this is a really big deal when it comes to testing, because 12-second means you can only proc it once during Raiden Elemental Burst. However, a 6-second cooldown will mean you can proc it twice during Raiden Elemental Burst. On top of the fact that if you're using a Phonius weapon, then you will be generating extra energy that you won't be getting if you're using any other weapon. So this heavily biased toward the amount of energy that she can properly generate, and therefore is not a good thing to use for testing. Another quick thing to call is that currently I do not have Kujosawa properly leveled simply because of the lack of material. And Kujosawa and Raiden Shogun is expected to have really good synergies, and we'll probably cover that in the actual Kujosawa video. So it is possible that this synergy will make Raiden Shogun shrine in some way, but in the current video this will not be covered. On top of that, the current Abyss Trove have the high tide and the low tide mechanics, and is able to generate you way too much energy to the point where you can run 0 DR even before Raiden came out. You could have run 0 DR on Eula before Raiden came out and just rely on high tide to generate your elemental burst. So because of that, it's really hard to gauge how much the energy jetting from Raiden is really contributing to your party. I feel like it's really hard to rate this character at the current moment because of the situation that we just talked about, but also because of the entire Raiden and Beidou drama. Now, MiHoYo might have officially confirmed that this interaction is intended and it doesn't work, but it does not mean that they can change it, especially because currently the Chinese player is super mad and they are riding all over the place. So we could see a Zhongli situation where they eventually decided to just change it because it'll keep the player a lot more happy. Chinese player are threatening to sue MiHoYo for doing misadvertisement. Regardless, this is not a video to cover about Chinese drama. I'll probably make another video about that, easy milking another video. But with that being said, so this is not the video and you won't expect to see any Chinese drama in this video. Going back to the original topic, here you can see the national team with Raiden Shogun, and this team does work really well. So you have Xiangling and Xingqiu, which are 80 cost bursts to boost up the resource for Raiden Shogun, and they're both deployable skill, and they're both skill that do heavily elemental burst damage and require a lot of energy. So in theory, this team should work really well, and again, it does. The only problem is that does this team work as well as Sucro does? The answer is probably not. You can see the biggest problem is that even though with the energy refund from Raiden Shogun, my Xiangling only have 50% onto his elemental burst because it's just not enough energy. The thing is, you have to build energy recharge anyway, at least some energy recharge, since Raiden Shogun 25 energy or so refund doesn't fully generate your Xiangling elemental burst or something like that. You can build less energy recharge, but you cannot get away with energy recharge even with Raiden Shogun. So the question becomes, if I'm gonna build energy recharge anyway, why not I just build a little bit more energy recharge and then running a character that boosts way more damage than Raiden Shogun, in this case either Sucrose or Kazuya. So in this case, it does work, but it's not good because something else exists that is just a lot better and is cheaper, aka 4 star versus 5 stars. So that is the reason why it is not good even though it worked. Well, I say that she worked, but she doesn't actually work with Beidou because of the interaction. Again, this is not the video to discuss, but for those of you who doesn't know, you cannot use Beidou Elemental Burst in Raiden Shogun Elemental Burst. So what ended up happening is that you need to wait for Beidou Elemental Burst to finish before you switch to Raiden Shogun and cast her Elemental Burst. And again, this does work, but the question is, does it work well enough to justify it? The answer is it's hard to say at the moment. In Genshin Impact, generally rotation are revolve around about 20 seconds. For example, in the Hu Tao team, you usually do a 20-second rotation because that's how long Xingqiu's elemental burst cooldown is. It's exactly 20 seconds. So you go through exactly one cycle every 20 seconds, even though Hu Tao doesn't limit by a 20-second cooldown. Similarly, on the Morgana team, even though that Ganyu and Venti, they both have cooldown on the 15-second mark, because you have to cast every single thing and it takes you approximately 5 seconds to cast them. Overall, you have 5 seconds of cast time and then 15 seconds of downtime, again making your overall rotation time approximately 20 seconds. Raiden Shogun introduced something called the extended rotation, where her rotation becomes 30 seconds instead of 20 seconds. And a lot of you might be very confused. Well, Beidou Elemental Burst is only a 15-second duration. So can't you just switch off and then do 7-second damage on Raiden Shogun to make it a 22 seconds rotation? Which is pretty close to 20 seconds, right? And that you'd be wrong. Well, first of all, Raiden Shogun requires you to cast all your elemental bursts on your team simply because of how her resolve mechanic works. Her resolve requires you to cast all your teammate elemental bursts, and that takes time. So overall, you'll be casting Xingqiu's burst, casting Sucro's burst, and then casting Beidou burst. That's approximately like 4 to 5 seconds per se after switching characters, and then you have 15 seconds of Beidou elemental burst doing damage, and that add up to 20 seconds. Usually when you're playing other team, you switch back to your original character and start the rotation again. But in this case, you need to switch to Raiden Shogun, cast her 2-second animation, and then attack for 7 seconds. It's more like 8 to 9 seconds because of hit lag extension. And then you can go back to your original character, in this case Xingqiu's, to cast his elemental burst, overall making her rotation time 30 seconds. This is the part where I remind you that DPS stands for damage per second. So in order to find your damage per second, you simply divide your total damage by the amount of time you spend doing it. So for a 20-second rotation, because you spend 20 seconds, you divide by 20. For a 30-second rotation, because you spend 30 seconds, you divide by 30. And basic mathematics tell you that when you're dividing by a bigger number, you get a smaller number. So unless your numerator at the top, aka your total damage, is so high that it can cover the weakness of doing a bigger rotation time, generally you're looking at a DPS loss by putting in Raiden Shogun. Although with that being said, on the other hand, when you don't have rotation issues, Raiden Shogun is a pretty good choice, which in the case of Eula. Because Eula damage are all bundled into her elemental burst, all you really care is to build on field and then spend about 7 seconds and cast your elemental burst, and then you just peace out and you don't care anymore. Because of that, that's a perfect time to switch to Raiden Shogun and do her stuff. So in this case, you will not run into the issues of doing extended rotation, and you can have a proper rotation. Raiden Shogun is also able to provide the superconduct for Eula, energy for Eula, and elemental burst damage for Eula. Once again, this is a team where you can utilize every single aspect that Raiden Shogun provide, and it worked really well. With that being said though, does it work well enough to justify running her over Fischl? To be honest, that we still have to see. There's gonna be a lot of detailed math required to calculate something like this. Fearcrafter and Chinese Fearcrafter are working really hard to calculate stuff like that. So at the moment, I don't want to make a definite conclusion to say that it's a lot better than Fischl, or on the other hand, it's a lot worse than Fischl. We will have to wait until to see the math, and of course that will be included probably in the full review video. In theory, she is really good. She can do a lot of different things. So if you find a team that can properly utilize those aspects that she can provide, yes, she's really good. The problem is that at the moment, there's no team who can properly utilize what she provides except Eula Beidou. Eula Beidou is a team where both of these characters have high energy issues and they both really care about their elemental burst damage. On top of that, Eula again only cared to take the field time for like 7 seconds, and after that she can peace out and don't care anymore. So yes, this is a team that works really well, and it's one of the teams that I can currently recommend for Raiden Shogun. But am I gonna recommend you to pull a character to play one specific team with a specific 5-star character included that you might not have? Probably not. Her kit provides really unique supporting capability, except currently no character can properly utilize it. It's almost like you have gold in front of you, but you cannot melt it, so you cannot do anything with that gold. So your gold is the same as useless as a brick, because well, you can't use it, so the only thing you can do is look at it for decoration. It's really hard to say if she's gonna be future proof, since supports are known to be more future proof, and there might be a character in the future that works really well with her. As always, I don't endorse rolling for a character hoping that a future character will work well with it. That's like buying Dogecoin and hoping it go up. It doesn't always work, if it works at all. I don't really want to give her a rating right now because I feel like there's still a lot of unclear potential about Raiden. Maybe they will change the Beidou interaction, and I really hope they do, because otherwise I'll probably have to put her into the 2 out of 5 category, which is roll for her if you really like her, but honestly, she's not that strong at all. Overall, while she is pretty good, she just doesn't work right now, and we just don't need her right now. Because of that, temporarily I think she's not too good. Maybe if they change the Beidou interaction back, then she'll be good enough to justify ruling for her, and I honestly do think that, especially since again she is a support with maybe compatibility with future characters. Hopefully they'll change the Beidou interaction back, because then I think she'll be fine. But for now, I'll say she kinda sucks, because the only character you can play with her is Eula, and again, that's a specific 5-star characters. With that being said, hopefully they'll change Beidou. Again, I said it many times, but it's really important. Please go tell me how you did change Beidou or Raiden or something. And hopefully you'll be here when they do change it. So don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and I'll see you all next time.